And we're going.
All right, I'm rolling.
Cool. Got levels.
You want to start it?
Yeah. Okay, I can do it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Actually, I feel like we should have the Malick Man kick it off.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
One day.
Oh, dude, I don't know. I never know what to say,
Dude,
man. Don't make me start
No,
it.
you got it, man. Come on. It's
Nah, man, I'm not doing it.
Are you sure? It's your series.
Yeah. No,
This is your baby.
Okay. Folks, welcome back.
Welcome to a very special series.
Yeah, you are listening to episode 1 of our second series. Our first was Tarkovsky Tuesdays that started the summer of 2024. We didn't really plan this as an annual thing, but actually no, because we're kind of weaving two. We haven't started the other one yet, but we're kind of weaving two together. The French New Wave Friday is something that we've talked about starting. We haven't gotten to yet, but this is the beginning of the Malick Mondays series, where we go through Terrence Malick's filmography. I know we already did Tree of Life, so it's we've discussed one, but I've gone on record saying this. I know Jacob, I think, might have talked about this, but we've basically said that a redux is due, and that like having time to stew, let our thoughts stew on that film. We've come around to it, I think, and I won't say that I didn't like it. I definitely did enjoy it, but I see the vision. So,
and once you get a full taste of a filmmaker's filmography, it really puts into perspective some of his other stuff. So
yeah, if we go in order, you're gonna see.
So
that
this is an effort to do our due diligence on Mr. Malick's filmography, and we're going chronologically per Mason's suggestion. So today we're talking about his debut film, 1973, Badlands. Martin Sheen,
yes, sir.
Sissy Spacek, and a lot of other random people.
And Terrence Malick.
It's basically a two-hander.
Yeah, and Terrence Malick, he makes an appearance. He's the guy that knocks at the door.
Yeah, I was gonna say it. Yes. Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't.
I thought he looked
familiar. Realized that.
Yeah.
His only, I think that's like the only video clip of him ever talking.
No way.
What's that dude from Marvel who died? Who used to do that?
Dude, what?
You know the dude from Marvel that died.
No, I really don't know.
The old guy who used to be on all his movies.
Stan Lee?
Stan Lee. I almost said Spike Lee. I was like, it's not Spike Lee, but the Stan Lee cameo.
Spike Lee, bro.
It's Stan Lee
Orange
cameo.
and Blue Skies.
That was like a Hitchcock. Well, Hitchcock was just kind of in the background, but he was like talking.
Man, Hitchcock was
yeah,
weird.
that is a big Hitchcock. I mean, I guess you could say that about Orson Welles too, but he's like actually acting. It's not like a, an appearance.
He had something called talent.
The story about that is like I think he had hired someone and then like they couldn't make it, and then Martin Sheen was like, "Hey, Malick, you do it," and then Malick was like, "No," and Sheen was like, "No, I'm not going to do this scene if you're not in it," and then like he was in it. So
yeah,
man,
pretty funny. Dunked on him with that one.
I was looking at Martin Sheen's Wikipedia, and dude's kind of goated, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's got that amazing Spider-Man bag.
He does, but his I don't know. I was looking at like his education, his like personal life, and like history and like philanthropy and stuff, and I was like, okay, so, but yeah, he plays one of the most detestable characters of all time, though. I will say that he is an awful person.
He does a really good job at it, though.
He kills it. I swear, when I was watching this, I was convinced maybe this is just okay. So like, maybe this is just like a Malick thing, but I don't know if all of his films have voiceover. But I was convinced because of the use of voiceover. I was like, "There's no way this isn't a book adaptation." But sure enough, like it's an original, like semi-original. It's loosely based on like you can speak to that more than I don't know much about it, but it's loosely based on like real events.
Yeah, which I think a lot of people think it's based on Bonnie and Clyde, which it is not. It's based on like the first original,
the OG serial killer.
Like, I think the dude's like Starkweather or whatever, and he's like the OG serial killer, like basically the first one ever, like in America.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is like it does. I mean, you would think. I know that like Ethan's watched Days of Heaven, but you would think the same thing about Days of Heaven because it's just voiceover.
I'm surprised. Is Days
You know
of
what I
Heaven
mean?
not an adaptation?
No, I don't think it is. He just loves the voiceover. That is like such a Malick thing.
It's weird
the
because it's
voiceover.
like that's such a like it breaks the show don't tell rule, and it almost feels like a crush like to because he uses so much of like he bakes in so much of his exposition into those narration bites.
Yep.
Or like bits.
Almost like all of it feels like.
Yeah, almost to, well, I would say to a fault in his early stages. Like Tree of Life, you get much more like formalistic and it's much more experimental and it's much more of like a pastiche of, it's like texture and color, the way he uses voiceover and narration in Tree of Life.
Yep.
And he's perfected it by that. But for this, you can, and I'll talk about this a lot, but Malick has all the tools, and you can see that you can see the burgeoning filmmaker in him, and you can also see how far he has to come. Like
Yes, yeah, he's definitely learning, and I do think that it's like this is an AFI film. You know what I mean? Like this is like, you know, this is kind of a student film. A very Eraserhead like, and it's like once he got full control, like. Once he made Tree of Life, and then just late stage, like post Tree of Life Malick, is like when he's just being himself, and that's the art that he's actually going to make. I think that's where the voiceover is like those two things can sync. The synchronicity for those two things is really good. But I would agree. I think the voiceover in this and Days of Heaven is like can be a little rickety. It can hold it back a little bit. And, you know, there's also just other stuff where he's just learning how to be a filmmaker.
But even then, I feel like this was like a very strong debut, especially visually. I think I was not expecting the movie to look this good and kind of capture
there's some great shots, yeah.
that area of the country so well. There's a lot of shots in my mind that like kind of feel iconic, honestly. Its color palette is really gorgeous. I mean, he's like a few
shots.
Yeah, he's like from that area of the country, so it makes sense that he gives a lot of detail, you know, especially in Tree of Life. But I feel like from the get-go, he's always had a great just eye.
His visuals are never like critiqued.
Yeah.
It's always narrative and voiceover.
I don't want to jump the gun, but this is fresh on my mind. There are a few shots in particular with the handheld that I was like, oh, that's you can see contemporary Malick with that. The first was when Martin Sheen's character, or Kit, is it Kit or Kurt?
Kit, yeah.
When Kit's throwing the gasoline in the house, I was like, that's Tree of Life right there. And then when the helicopter was flying away, the way that it was shot, I don't know, like kind of how it followed up and under the helicopter as it was flying, I was like, that's so Tree of Life. And then
you can see the like semi-cinema verite within a very non-verite.
It's completely non-verite. So like those shots are kind of jarring a little bit because you're like, oh, that's interesting.
But I even think just a lot of the like establishing shots in the shots,
they're still beautiful.
The one of the painting and a lot of like the fields in Montana are just
the fields are
breathtakingly beautiful.
There's one aerial shot where they were, I don't know if it was I think it was in the airplane flying back, but I was just like, there's no way that's not CG. But they obviously didn't have the means to do that, and it just looked so good. Like in the clouds. I don't know if you remember that, but there was just a gorgeous shot. I was like, how did they shoot that? But yeah.
I just think it's really like I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about like Malick's process because we'll be talking about this like throughout the weeks. I mean, obviously Thin Red Line and Tree of Life are like the two big ones where it's like a bunch of stuff went on behind the scenes in production and specifically post-production. But like even on this one, it was like there were takes done of the script, and then there were improvised takes, and then there were takes without dialogue, and then and Malick was like really upset at the cut, and he fired the editor, and then he edited it himself, and it was just like it just seems like there's always something that Malick is like chasing that it's like just not good enough, and he's always tinkering with things. Yeah, which I think is really interesting.
That is interesting.
I'm gonna go grab a phone charger.
Go. Okay, you're good. Specifically with editing, because that's like we'll talk about that. Like, obviously, like New World and Tree of Life, and then post Tree of Life, but it's like Like he just like on a lot of those films he'll have 10, 15 editors.
Yeah.
And the thing with Malick is he has 10 editors and none of them know what the other ones are doing, which is really interesting. Like that doesn't make any sense.
It's just like a constant it's like a constant sense of just like chasing perfection, or just constant sense of like all like experimentation and like trying something different. Yep.
And he just wants it to feel like as natural as he can. He's like so like don't tell me the rules, because there are no rules.
Yeah.
I feel like he's very like, he's not worried about, oh, we got to follow the 180-degree rule with this edit. You know what I mean? He's just not thinking about it. He doesn't care. You know what I mean? And I think that's where you get a lot of people like, grappling with his films and stuff. They're like, this doesn't make any sense. This is too formalistic, which is understandable.
Yeah. Well, I even felt like even still knowing that, I felt like this movie flowed very well. Again, going back to just like it being a strong debut, the story's pretty simple, and it's definitely being carried by two really good performances. But I think from an editing perspective, it flowed very well, and I kind of like when he changed things up. So
I think we're all probably pretty like in the same boat about. A lot of people think this is like his best film, which doesn't make any sense to me.
This is a bit of a topic change, but this is something I just thought about. Ethan at the beginning, said, what's the guy's name again? Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen.
Yeah. You said Martin Sheen's character was detestable, and he's a murdering machine, and not a good guy at all. But something that's interesting is like I watched the extras that were attached to the Criterion. Shout out to the guy who uploaded that on YouTube.
Hey, I was watching that too. I was watching that like a couple hours ago, bro.
Yeah, and
I should have checked YouTube. I rented it from Prime Video.
so you know what I'm talking about, but. And, they even mentioned this in the movie where the cops arrest him, and they're like, well, he does look exactly like James Dean. Mm-hmm. And they say that a couple of times that he looks like James Dean. And in the extras, they were talking about, I think it was Martin Sheen, and they were talking about how him and Malick were kind of growing up when, I guess, that serial killer case happened, and they were, like, all enraptured by how normal and, like, just...
John Doe,
John
killer.
Doe, that the killer was, and that they were like very like struck by that. Even if the movie is not necessarily like a 1-to-1 of that story, they definitely like incorporate that kind of, this is bad, but at the same time he's kind of like a cool renegade figure.
Mm-hmm.
It's so like 50s, 60s, 70s like Americana.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like it's such a 70s movie. It's like
yeah.
It's so interesting. Like, I made a Letterboxd list called this was actually like the catalyst. Watching this was the catalyst for me making a list, but I think it's called 70s movies where the male protagonist is the worst guy ever, and this was one of the top ones on the list. First of all, like that seems to be like a weird thing. There's like 7 movies in there that I've seen, but the pacing of this is so interesting because it's like 90 minutes, but it's so clear, like the divide in like not only the attention span, but it just like the pacing and the expectations of what a 90-minute film contains is vastly different from what like a 2025 90-minute film looks like. It is so different, because I was watching this last night. I'm like, man, this is slow, and people die and like people are shot, but it's not like that's not. I wouldn't equate that to action. It's more about.
But it's not.
It's really not. No, it's. And I also thought, like, as far as story beats, that it's kind of choppy. Like, it goes from event to event, and it's not that I was like. The remedy for that isn't like more time in the car, because we get that. It's just the movie doesn't flow very well. It feels like I don't know how to explain it beyond that, or like because I don't write like that, I don't know what the fix for it is, but all I can say is that it feels very bumpy. It's like, now there's this scene, and then there's this scene, and time passes in between, and it's...
I don't know. Like, I feel like... No, I agree, but only for, like, the last 30 minutes. I think the movie takes a huge dive in pacing for me, like, during the third act. I don't know. I feel like it flowed pretty well. Like,
I think...
for the first half.
I think once like Sissy SpaceX dad dies and when they run away, that's when it kind of tanks for me.
But I kind of like the hut in the woods and his little
that
traps.
was a good sequence, yeah. But it still felt like how we got there and how we left. It was a little like
But I think it's important to realize, like, I mean, I could talk about the background on Malick a little bit. Like he grew up. He was born in Illinois. Mm-hmm. He was raised in Oklahoma, and then he went to his family moved to Texas in 1952. He started getting interested in Bergman and Truffaut, and he was introduced to movies. But that was not like movies was not his thing. It was philosophy, which obviously you can see a lot of in his later works. So he went. So his dad wanted him to go to MIT because that's where his dad went. But then he instead went to Harvard. Ooh.
He went to Harvard?
They let him in? And then and then he like won a Rhodes Scholarship. He started studying bunch of philosophy, and then he taught philosophy at MIT.
That's crazy. Okay.
And then a friend was like, "Hey, go to the American Film Institute in Los Angeles." And then he was like, "All right, I will." And then he wrote this, and he got like Paul Schrader and David Lynch like recognized this as like, "Hey, this is a really good screenplay. Like, this is good. You gotta like make this."
Wow.
And I just think it's really interesting.
It's really impressive. That's a cool story
to see, like, because I think he's like he's very Lynchian in that way, where he's like very attuned to, like, he could tell you his favorite painters. He could tell you, his favorite musicians. He knows classical music very well. He knows, all the art forms.
He lives the art life.
For some reason, he just fell into movies. But you can see that, like, this is not like an early Scorsese film where it's like Scorsese knows film, like he knows movies. Mm-hmm. I feel like Malick is like still kind of trying to figure out things, and he doesn't know.
Trying to find like the cinema language, kind of.
Exactly, and try to find his style in that form of art.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like a lot of people really like the two early ones, this and Days of Heaven. But for me, it's like he basically kind of just got better at it.
I'd agree.
In my opinion.
I mean, I've only seen...
Because he also took a 20-year hiatus after Days of Heaven and like went overseas to Europe and taught and fell in love and stuff. And that, I think that was also more experiences
understandable
for him to put in his art and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, literally.
I always think that's interesting because, like, we always hear about, you mentioned Scorsese and, like, Kubrick, they were basically at the theater every single day of their life when they were growing up. And then for someone like Malick to just kind of stumble into it and kind of become the filmmaker he is today, it's pretty cool.
And I think that it comes along like with its negatives, because there's a lot of stories where it's like he's not happy with how something's done and he just fires a crew member, or he's like he just doesn't want the crew doing it this way, and he's very like specific about things, which is like, that makes a lot of people mad, specifically like editing things. But I mean, he's just a guy with a vision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At some point, it's like but yeah,
it's interesting though, like sort of to what Jacob was saying, like the difference in like artist timelines and their exposure to their own craft and their relationship with it. Like, I was talking to a friend who told me that like Anton Bruckner didn't start writing music until like his late 20s or 30s, I think. And like a lot of his later symphonies are kind of like in the canon of like symphonic music in the 19th and 20th century. And if you look at like Richard Strauss, or I think even like Stravinsky, like a lot of the Titan composers, like Schoenberg actually, of the 20th century, they all cite Bruckner as an inspiration. And this guy wasn't like a Mendelssohn where he was a prodigy and he was like doing the thing like out of the womb. Like their experience and their relationship with the art was like a slow burn. And yes, they still achieve mastery in their life, but it's just, I don't know. That always fascinates me, the different trajectories that people have with their art, and like how I guess that relationship affects their output and their interpretation of art.
I think it's like a beautiful thing because it just shows that you can like still kind of learn and
100%.
do whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not to say that it's like he just went to the AFI because he had money and he was really smart, and then he made 2 bad films. Like, they're good films.
Yeah.
I wouldn't maybe say that they're great films. At least specifically this one, I think there's a debate to be had about like
Days of Heaven is much stronger, I think.
Really, really good. I think I've grown with Days of Heaven a lot. Yeah. We're gonna have that conversation later, but
still need to watch it.
But it's like it's still a strong output, and I think that you can see early signs of like, oh, this guy is bringing something to the art form that's like very unusual. He has a certain way of showing and a certain way of shooting things, and it's like it's almost not really narrative. It's just philosophical, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Now here's a quick question. I don't know if there's like a solid answer that we can come to, but do you think you can tell the difference between an artist like a Tarantino or, like you're saying, a Kubrick and a Lynch, who were obsessed at a young age and were in that for a longer time, versus the ones who came into the profession later and slowly worked?
Yeah, I mean, I think like that, in the extreme cases,
I think you can't recognize the output and like distinguish it. If it was like blind,
I think
you could,
certainly, certainly in extreme cases like Tarantino, because it's just homage after homage after homage, and because Tarantino's seen everything. Same with Scorsese. I mean, Scorsese doesn't just do an homage like every other frame. I'm not saying that Tarantino,
but with Kubrick, every frame is like perfect.
Yes.
And it's too like exact. Whereas like Malick,
yes.
I don't know. I feel like you could come to the conclusion that like, oh, this person has been like just enveloped in the world of film so long that they're just doing anything. It's just so free form that like they've transcended the, I don't know. The
it's like simultaneously exacting and perfectionist and specific, but also like not at all.
Yeah.
He's very freeform.
And they're also, I mean, both of those, like the comparison might be a little similar because like Malick has like a philosophy background, and that obviously is very strong in a lot of his movies. And Kubrick was a photographer for Life magazine and had just like a very clear cut.
And that's about the photography is contained to one shot. You got to get it perfect, I mean, you take a lot. You pick your favorite.
I mean, so that in that way, I definitely think you could, because it's like if someone's like, yeah, Kubrick's a photographer, you're like, oh, duh, that makes so much sense. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's so natural.
But even like a Linklater versus, I don't know, who's someone who hasn't been doing film for a long time, like
Peele.
Maybe. I mean, could you tell the difference? I don't know. Like maybe.
I don't know. I think if you really tried hard, I also think that you would need, like, I think that if someone just sat down and watched this, you'd be like, oh, that guy went to film school and he's always loved film. But if you watched all of Malick's films, you'd be like, oh, definitely not. This guy has such a strong background in philosophy, because the Love trilogy, like, and post Tree of Life stuff is like, they're borderline not even films. They're just philosophical musings with images. You know what I mean? Literally, it's just voiceover over crazy images that 10 people are editing. It's really hard to even critique stuff like that. So I think you would need to see the entirety of someone's work.
That's probably a good answer.
To have a really good understanding.
Still, it's a pretty interesting thing to look after. It's cool.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think it's another thing that I want to talk about is like, I'm sure you saw this, Jay, because I was watching this in like the behind the scenes thing, but it's like Martin Sheen like didn't think he was gonna get this because he was too old, and then like he got it, and this like basically made his career.
Oh wow!
Same with same with Sissy Spacek for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because they both hadn't really been in much.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then if you look at their careers after, I mean,
did this see like a good amount of commercial success? Or a critical, I assume.
Yeah.
But.
Well, yeah, the critical was like a little bit up and down. Like Pauline Kael famously wrote, she was like, I don't like this director, I don't like these actors, I don't like this movie, this sucks. but Kael, I mean, that's kind of just Kael. She's kind of like that. But it got enough commercial success for him to make Days of Heaven, which had a decent budget, and then Days of Heaven got enough commercial success for Paramount to sign Malick to basically a lifelong contract, and he got the keys to the kingdom, and then he left for Europe. He could have made anything that he wanted. The story goes that after Days of Heaven, Malick could make anything that he wanted, and he was like kind of trying to write Tree of Life, and he couldn't decide on anything, and then he was like, I'm going to Europe.
Except my life is a movie, Uzi Jacuzzi.
Literally.
His life is a movie. He got tired of making them. So watch me move to Europe.
He wanted to go. He wanted to go to Europe and fall in love. I can't blame the man.
We should only make movies.
That sounds amazing.
Malick moved to Europe to star in Sexy Beast.
Yeah.
For 20 years, and then he moved back to the U.S. He moved back to Texas.
Literally.
Only make movies to finance your vacations to outside the country.
Life hack.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Box office. Okay, so the budget was almost $500,000 and it made $54,000.
Hey, this is 1970s, folks. So that's more like that's about $1.7 billion
Yeah, literally.
in today's money.
But I think I wouldn't say it was commercially successful by any means, but I think I got enough critical acclaim to where it was like, hey, we'll let this guy do it again.
Way of the Water just barely edged this out at the box office.
$2.8 billion.
And then Avengers, had a comfortable lead, but still, gotta give Badlands. Endgame had a.
Yeah, when you adjust it for inflation, Badlands is the number one grossing movie of all time.
Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah.
What else is there?
We haven't talked about the movie itself much. I mean,
that's
okay. It's good. That's a good discussion.
I feel like we kind of did though. Just he be killing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's just a two-hander where they just go on a killing
it's really
spree.
sad.
I think that there's a lot of
it was like the original Bones.
There's a lot of really cool scenes.
No.
Timmy.
Yeah.
Timmy sitting courtside at the Knicks.
Yeah,
bro.
without
Badlands.
Terrence Malick, we would not have Timothée Chalamet sitting courtside at the Knicks.
Yeah. Powerful.
Hey, I'm not gonna put that out there because I'm gonna curse myself. But
you gotta wait.
I gotta wait. I'll say it on the next pod.
But I do think that I think the kind of vibe, Days of Heaven has this, but it's just like early 70s, like great American movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you just don't get stuff like this today. You're not going to get a two-hander drama that's like very well made with a good director. It would be like, this would be IP. They'd be like, all right, we're doing a Bonnie and Clyde remake. And that you could say that's what this is, but it's not at all because Malick did not tell them to read up on the Starkweather case. He didn't tell them to like base their performances off these people.
Yeah.
He got the inspiration from that and then he wrote an original story. So it's based off of it, but it's not one-to-one at all.
Yeah.
So I think I remember watching it for the first time where he shoots her father. I was like, dude, what are you doing?
The one that really got me was his friend when he was like walking towards the truck.
Yeah, and then the narration, she's like, I still don't understand why he did that.
And then the first thing that he does,
how down bad do you have to be, dude?
She's getting groomed. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's very much a tragedy. Like Sissy Spacek's character, she's just so much younger,
for sure.
and like I mean.
It was the same thing for the real life case also. I think he was 19 and she was 14.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
and I think that she's like, oh, someone is interested in me. This is fun. And then he gives her attention. But it's like she doesn't know what she's doing at all.
She kills my stupid, annoying dad.
I just thought it was so. It was so crazy. Like when Kit kills his friend.
Oh, you know
the first thing while he's dying on his bed, the first thing that he says, he takes the picture frame. He's like, I didn't hear about her, or he makes a comment about his girlfriend. He doesn't not hey man, sorry, shot you. It's like, oh, you got a girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's just like.
He's a psychopath.
He's a psychopath.
Yeah.
That was a great shot when he's in her room and the dad's standing in the hallway and you can see his reflection in the mirror.
Oh no, that was great. Yeah,
and then it was like a tracking shot where it turns to the hallway.
He's got it, man. Yeah. He's got it. And I just feel like he hadn't fully developed a style yet, and I don't think that he didn't have his confidence yet. That's why I always kind of struggle. It's like if I'm going to watch a Malick movie, it's not going to be the early ones because I feel like he's kind of holding back.
Yeah,
in some way.
But even then, I still feel like this movie's like pretty. I just lost the word. Keep going. Sorry.
No, it's impressive. Like, he's doing some impressive stuff.
It is very impressive, and it's very good. I mean, if this was just like on TNT, I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, it's slightly boring, but it's good. There's a lot of stuff going on.
It's got the early '70s thing where it's like it's an original story. It's quite slow. Mm-hmm. I mean, the pacing is rough at times, but
there's some really good scenes though. There's some really good scenes.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, a handful of great scenes, and like I said earlier, I mean, I think this thing's a visual feast. The whole thing just looks gorgeous. So, got a lot out of it.
I think the scene when he gets caught, the whole like police chase. I mean, that's a cool scene, but like I guess when he's after Sissy Spacek she puts her foot down. It's the first time. That's like, I think that's an important moment thematically. That's like the first time she's like offering any opposition to Kit, because previously he's been able to bulldoze his way through and just live life how he wants, either like through killing his opposition or essentially removing those people from his life. And so it's sad because Sissy Spacek, what's her name again? I don't want to just say. I forget.
Oh, her character's name? Holly?
Yeah, because Holly's just kind of like an accomplice. She's just like a little garnish on Kit's life. Because Kit wants to he's a loose cannon. He lives how he wants. He thinks there should be no repercussions for his acts. Well, he comprehends that there are, because he cleans up after himself, and he tries to when he kills somebody, he hides a body, and he realizes that his actions have consequences, but he doesn't want to deal with them. And you hear Holly in the narration talk about how Kit reasons, I don't know if I think this was his friend. He's like, after he murders his friend, she's like, he moved the body because Kit said he shouldn't be sitting out in the sun. And it's her young brain probably understands that he's hiding the body, but at the same time she's she's still young, and so. He just wants someone to dote on him, or just I don't know,
just be like a yes man, just go along with whatever I'm gonna
exactly, because ultimately he's very lonely, and he's so obsessed with leaving his mark on society. He's terrified of being forgotten about.
Well, there's one scene where he says I'm only keeping you around because I want someone to yell my name when I die.
Yes, he is so scared of being of not being remembered.
Because that is not. Let me just say, this does not feel like a healthy relationship.
No, it doesn't.
I'm gonna say I feel like this has some more narrative meat to the bone than I've originally thought it did.
Yeah, no, there's some really interesting stuff. And when he finally gives up in the car chase, he doesn't get caught. He gets out of the car, shoots the tire to make it look like he got caught. And then while the cop car is approaching, he takes the time to gather stones. And I wasn't sure what he was doing, but he essentially builds a makeshift monument signifying where he got caught. It's almost it's like a memorial site or like a headstone almost. To be please remember, I did something of note, please remember me. Or it's he is so scared of just getting washed out in the expanse of people and humanity and the especially out west, it's just so huge that it's probably easy to feel like insignificant, and so he's so dead set on leaving his mark. And then once he gets arrested, I feel like that's when he's his happiest, because everybody's kind of gawking at him when he's standing in the hangar. And they're asking
like,
questions.
Cool.
And he's like, I got a pen. He's throwing him his belongings, and he's like enjoying the attention that it comes with.
Yeah. I think someone asked for his
He just wants to be loved. He just wants attention.
Yeah. But
I also think that it's I'd be remiss if I didn't also talk about like all of the nature shots and water shots and leaves and trees. I mean, that's obviously
there's some killer shots
really,
of trees.
Really big thing for Malick. The visual motif of like nature and our role in nature,
the horizon.
And how and also I'm reading my original Letterboxd review that I wrote almost 2 years ago.
I read that again today.
And I think the visual motif with the dog is interesting, because it's like the film opens with Holly on the bed petting the dog, but then there's also a moment where the dog and Martin Sheen's character are like likened to be one and the same almost. So it's like he's seen as like a dog, because he kind of has that like animalistic nature, and it's stuff like that where it's like that's stuff that like Malick's really going to improve upon in future films, where it's like he does that type of thing, but like 300 times in a film rather than like 3.
Where else does the dog appear? I'm trying to remember. Or who else is the dog in the film?
I don't know. The film also has a key narrative moment where a dog and Sheen's character are likened to be one and the same. I don't know. I just remember writing that. I think that there's a scene like with him and a dog. Is there not? Am I mistaken?
Oh, I'm sure you're not. I'm just not remembering it.
I am also not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If I had to guess, I feel like there's something said at the beginning when he gets fired from his job, where they're like, even a dog could keep this job. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, there is the shot of him like going down to like pet that dog. I think it's like a
dead
dog.
He was
it's because I remember a bleeding dog. Where was that?
Yeah, that was at the beginning, like right after the.
That was at his job. Yeah, he's like doing the what.
He was like, do you want to take a bite? It's something weird.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
He says something about like eating the dog to his coworker.
Dude, what?
And then his coworker's just like, you crazy.
He's the trash man.
I think of the shot. I think of the shot when he's like standing on the dead cow. You remember that?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, animals in nature, man. I'm telling you, it
was the 70s. That probably was a real dead cow.
Theme.
What's the? This is a stretch. What's the?
Maybe
the It's not the parable. It's the dream that like. Was it Joseph had about the cows?
Oh, I don't know, man.
Exodus, like the 7 cows, and then they were dead, and
Oh yeah.
The skinny cows, the fat cows. I don't know.
That was probably like Moses then, right?
Might have been.
Or,
I don't know.
Like if it was Exodus, I would assume it's Moses.
No, I think I think it was Joseph, because it was like the Pharaoh had the dream and Joseph was interpreting it for him.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of Exodus is Joseph.
Yeah. I don't know. That's probably a stretch, but I hear dead cows or fat cows, and I'm like,
Malick was probably thinking of it.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, it's also like that. That was all. I feel like that was always like an idol. You know what I mean? Like the cow was like.
Yeah.
Idolatry.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's definitely true.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, all in all, I think that this is like it's a great first film. Not the best debut feature by any means I've ever seen, but it's like he's laying the groundwork, and he's just gonna get better and better.
Yep.
Definitely, certainly after the 20-year hiatus. That's a really long time. And maybe one day we'll get a new film from him.
Maybe one day. Maybe next year.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day we'll get The Way of the Wind. Maybe it'll play at Cannes.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll play while we're there.
Yeah. Be on the lookout.
Yeah, please let us into Cannes next year.
Yeah, we're coming next year.
We didn't apply, so we're undefeated so far, but
we will apply next year.
Yeah. Oh, we will get it.
Then we'll spend $15,000 a piece just to stay there for a week and fly there.
That'll be covered by the Patreon cost. So, yeah, y'all better step it up. If y'all want us to go to Cannes, we need it to be funded. So,
yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's about all I got.
Yeah. Pretty simple one to start on.
Yep.
Well,
there
yeah,
it is. I cannot wait till we do Days of Heaven, and then Thin Red Line, and then New World, and then Tree of Life, and then all the others. Basically, every other one is like very like this one is like this is cool. Yeah. Same with I'm not over the moon about Days of Heaven. All the other ones are like really interesting in their own right. Like very, very interesting. Even New World, because it's like Colin Farrell and then like Christian Bale just shows up. You know, it's like
that does sound interesting. Can't lie.
It's also just Pocahontas.
One of the weaker Disney
bunch of
movies.
Nature stuff,
but some good music nonetheless.
Yeah. Was that Mencken? I'm assuming.
I think it was. Yeah. I mean, based on
probably it almost has to be.
Yeah. I mean, Jacob, can you check? Or someone, I don't know. All right, well, my phone's charging, or I could look it up on my computer actually. Hold on. You can chill.
I'm looking.
I got it. I'm gonna go ahead and say yes.
I'm going to assume it is.
But like, okay, there's some Golden Age. It's not technically Golden Age movies, but there are some Disney movies.
Yeah, it is.
Where the scores, like, did he do Mulan as well? Because someone might have.
I don't think so. I know he did Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, he did the Golden
Pocahontas. Age. He did Hercules.
He did Hercules. Did he do Lion King? No, or was that just Elton John? No, I think he did Lion King with.
No, well, that was also Zimmer.
Yeah,
but I
Zimmer
think,
didn't write any of the songs though. He did the score.
Oh yeah. That's true. I don't think Mencken did Lion King.
I think he.
Did he do Mulan? I don't think so.
I think Mencken did do Lion King. If I had to guess.
Mulan soundtrack. Yeah, it wasn't. Oh, I forgot that Jerry Goldsmith did the score for Mulan. That's crazy.
Goldsmith, man, one of the goats.
But yeah, Alan Menken did not do the songs for Mulan.
That doesn't surprise me. It kind of feels different, but
is there a talking raccoon in the Malick movie?
Maybe one
voiced
day.
by Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Bruh. Now that's not the conversation we need to have. Maestro.
A Maestro Redux. Watch out for Bradley Cooper Saturdays coming after French New Year Fridays.
New film.
Yeah.
New film about to drop. Looks pretty good.
It's enough content for a whole month.
It's Will Arnett.
It's enough content for a whole month.
We're eating good, but good. We are starving.
Dude, if we did a Maestro Redux, I would be like, yeah, this is pretty good. It's solid. And you all would be like, this is the worst movie I've ever seen.
It's not a very good movie.
What if we do
fine. Carey Mulligan's great. Bradley Cooper is...
It's like, visually is pretty interesting, and it looks good.
There's some cool visual stuff. I will give you that. That sequence.
I don't care if he doesn't look like Mahler.
It's not about how he looks.
Okay, what if we do Maestro Mondays? Because there's so much to unpack. We could do Maestro for a whole year. Every
52
single Monday.
weeks.
and then we do Fantasia.
And then we do one episode for Malick.
Yeah.
His filmography in one episode.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it's about time to end it. We're just rambling.
Be on the lookout next week for
this is where our podcast hits the stride. It's when we go off the script and there's nothing left to talk about. When we're just getting started. This is when we.
Someone say this.
This is when we should start going in the red.
Yeah. Be on the lookout next week for episode 2 of Malick Mondays, Days of Heaven. And with that being said, roll that outro music.
Cool.
There you go.
Yeah. Malick scraps Way of the Winds to make the sequel, Knights of Hell.
Pocahontas 2.